Now,
Ladies and gentlemen,
Get started.
broadcasting from the shores of the world's most beautiful beaches, this is the most talked about radio show in Bay County, the Brian Rust Morning Show. Melting down snowflakes faster than a blowtorch and doing it with a smile. Now, here's Brian Rust on News Talk at 101.
All right, good morning and welcome to the show. It is Tuesday, October 11th. Hope you're having a great start to your day today. Weather's beautiful, by the way. Absolutely beautiful this morning. I love this time of the year. I really do. As it gets a little bit cooler at night, nice and cool in the morning, a little warmer during the daytime. If we could just keep the weather like this, it would be perfect, wouldn't it? It would be all about that. Hey, got a big show going on today. We got a lot to talk about, including also have a Democrat candidate. Yeah, you heard that right. Democrat candidate for the Florida CFO fire marshal position is actually to be joining us in the studio later on this morning. And I you know what? Regardless to politics on it, I've got to give props, give a little bit of respect. The fact that he is willing to literally step into the lion's den, because essentially that is what this what it is coming here. This is Jimmy's hometown, and he's coming in to try and tell you why he should be elected to office. And the fact that a Democrat candidate asked me, seriously, asked me. I didn't go after him and say, hey, do you want to come on? No, they came to me and said, hey, can we come on? The fact that a Democrat wants to actually talk to a conservative radio audience, I got to give him respect for that. So we'll talk with him coming up later on this morning. Hang on a second. I forgot what his name was. I know, I'm so bad about that. Of course, I'll also mess up his name. I mean, the good thing is that his first name is easy. It's Adam. But his name is Adam Hattersley, I think is how you say that. Like I said, I screw it up all the time. So there's a good chance it's probably something easier than that. But you know me. I've always got to screw up a last name. But we will have Adam coming up later on in the show. And I'm actually intrigued to hear what he has to say, because it's not very often that we do get a Democrat candidate that calls us and says, hey, can we come on the show? So we'll see what he has to say coming up later on this morning.
Calling him an ultra MAGA is not the worst thing he's ever been called.
Maybe great, and maybe just good, maybe not so good.
The Brian Rust Show is back on News Talk at 101.
All right, welcome back to the show. Good morning and happy Tuesday. We are 1 month away from Election Day in November for the midterms. This is going to be an interesting election. It really, truly is. We have a lot at stake here just in Florida. We've got the governor's seat. We've got the Congressman Dunn's seat is up. We also have, what's his name there? Marco Rubio's seat, the senator. Sorry, I'll get it all out. Hang on. We also have our state senator seat. George Gaynor's retiring, so we have Jay Trumbull, who is running up against a competitor. I don't even know who the competitor is. Is that bad? Bad for that competitor, I guess. I don't know. It's a Democrat from, I think, Walton County that is running up against Jay. And then there's a few others, including our CFO position, which we do have. And again, I've got some mad respect for jumping into the lion's den on this one. But Adam Hattersley, who is the Democrat running against Jimmy Patronis, is actually going to come in studio today and talk about his campaign. The reason why I've got the mad respect for is because no other Democrat has been willing to do this, and they called me. I didn't even ask him to do it. They called me and said, hey, can we come in? So we'll hear what he has to say coming up later on this morning with his bid to unseat Jimmy Patronis. But again, Charlie Crist, his campaign has been given multiple invitations. And I mean, I've actually reached out to them, said, hey, you want to come on? Not a word. Of course, they might be. Is that the same guy that keeps bashing us on Twitter? Yeah, that's the same guy. We don't want to go hang out with him. That could be bad. And then there was Nikki Fried. Nikki Fried, who came out initially like Little Miss Tough Girl. I'm not afraid of anything. Well, you want to come on to the show here? And now I'm not saying anything. I'm not doing it. No, not going anywhere. No. No response whatsoever from either one of them. So the fact that we do actually have a Democrat that's willing to come onto the show, and literally this is the Lion's Den because we are a conservative, Republican-leaning show, obviously. It's Jimmy's hometown. So we'll see. We'll see what he has to say. I'm all about being fair and hearing what the other side has to say. So stick around for that. That'll be coming up 7 o'clock.
Now, here's Brian Rust on News Talk at 101.
All right, welcome back to hour number 3 of the show. Good morning, and time for us to talk a little politics because we never do that. But I want to welcome to the show, and I'm amazed. I think I got this right. Adam Hattersley.
That's right.
Holy crap! That is really rare for me to get anything longer than like Bob correctly. With names, I just don't understand what my problem is with names.
Yeah,
but,
I've heard about every variation of it, so never
I'm sure you
offended,
have.
Just bring it. I get Hattersley, Hattersley. It's fine. Hattersley.
Well, with you also being from Massachusetts and there being an R in there, you know, I'm sure you've heard other variations of it as well. Anyhow, I want to welcome you into the show. You are running for the CFO / fire marshal position here in the state of Florida, and tell us a little bit about who you are. What's the deal? Who is Adam?
Well, like you said, I was born in Massachusetts, grew up mostly in Colorado. Then I went to the University of Michigan, go blue. Bachelor's and master's degrees in aerospace engineering. So technically, I am a rocket scientist. My wife always likes that joke, but it's true. After my time at Michigan, I joined the United States Navy. I spent 8 years as a nuclear submarine officer. I was stationed on a fast attack submarine based out of Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. I was actually commissioned in the Navy. I went to OCS right down the road in Pensacola. I was commissioned about 3 weeks before September 11th. So deployed on a fast attack submarine, like I said. After my time on the ship, I volunteered for a combat tour in Iraq with an Army Special Operations Unit. I was there from 2006 to 2007. The second half of my tour was the surge. I was maybe around 35 miles away when Saddam Hussein was executed, and about 7 miles away when Zarqawi was killed. We could hear the bomb that got him. Wow. I went on over 200 combat missions. It was about 395 days from when I left the U.S. till I came home. After my time in Iraq, I was a professor of electrical engineering at the U.S. Naval Academy, go Mids. A great job.
Right.
It was fantastic.
And you want to get into politics? What's wrong with you?
Well, we'll get there.
Okay.
So after my time in the service, got out, got a job here in Florida working for a Fortune 500 company doing data and financial analytics and helping to manage about 5,000 people all over the world. And I was never involved in politics. I was an independent, an NPA, non-party affiliate, pretty much my entire professional life, adult life. And my wife and I opened our own small business in 2016 that, unfortunately COVID, we were a casualty of COVID, but that's all right. And people started asking me to run in 2018. And, with my father volunteered for a tour in Vietnam in 1967. He was a big influence on me joining the military, volunteering for submarine force, volunteering to go to Iraq. And when people ask, with that duty, that service, because I've always felt like we need to serve to earn our rights as Americans. And when people asked if I would serve, it was really hard for me to say no. So I gave it a shot. And even though I think you mentioned I am a Democrat, it was a district that Trump won in 2016. But it was one of those situations which I think this particular race is in 2022. It's having the right candidate at the right time for the right race. And the district recognized that, and they sent me to Tallahassee. So I spent a couple of years in the legislature. Most of my bills that I focused on were veteran-related bills. I had a bill for to help sexual assault victims, a bill to help developmentally disabled children. My bills were some of the most co-sponsored bills from both sides of the aisle in Tallahassee. And I thought we were pretty successful up there. And then similar to 2018, people started calling me around December of last year asking if I would run for the chief financial officer role here in Florida because we need strong and serious candidates because it's a serious job. Your money is at stake. And, again, when asked to serve, it's hard for me to say no. So here we are, literally 4 weeks, 28 days out from Election Day.
Yeah, that we are. And you know what? Hang out with me, and I can tell you how to say no. Because I got the same, I get to people all the time going, are you going to run again? And I'm like, no. But I do
Run
give props.
again. So you did answer. You did
I
answer
did.
the call once.
I did. Twice, and I learned lessons. So I am enjoying what I'm doing now. But I do give you a lot of props because you are a Democrat and you're coming here to Bay County to talk to the people. And obviously this is a predominantly Republican area. And obviously it's a conservative show, and you guys said, hey, let's come on. So I got to give you some mad respect for that. And of course, with Florida now being a very dominant Republican area and a Democrat stepping up, again, some respect for you on doing that. And a lot of people probably don't really know much about what the CFO position really is. I mean, even though your competitor in the race, Jimmy, who's local guy, everybody here knows Jimmy, but I think a lot of people don't even know what the position is. So what do you think brings, what qualities do you have that you think you could bring into the office to make it better?
Well, first off, I do want to say thanks for having us on and for
absolutely.
saying that. Because when I was in the State House, and then I'll get to that other in a second. When I was in the State House, we had a policy in my office. I never turned down a meeting. Because it didn't matter if I agreed with you or not. People travel to Tallahassee to speak to their representatives. Sometimes they travel hours. And we have to remember as elected officials, you don't represent only the people who voted for you. You don't represent only the people of your party. You represent everybody in your district. And in the case of this race, everybody in the state. So, of course, I'm up here in the Panhandle. We've been here for a few days. This is my third or fourth trip up here. Because just because you may not be the same party as me or voted for me even, I'm still going to do my best to represent you. Just like when I was in the military, I didn't care if the guy next to me, I went to Michigan. I don't care if the guy next to me was an Ohio State fan. Oh, like horrid. But he was still on my team, and we do everything we could to protect you. But the CFO role, it's a huge role. It's one of the Florida cabinet positions. Someone very succinctly explained it to me. Besides the governor, there's the three other cabinet positions. Think of it as the land, the law, and your money. So the land, agriculture commissioner, the law, attorney general, and your money, the CFO. So it's the state treasurer, the head of the Office of Insurance Regulation, as you mentioned, the state fire marshal, and the state board of administration. So for the state pension plan, it's on the clemency board. Strangely enough, it's the head of the cemeteries division.
That's weird.
It's a little weird, but it's some of the jobs that people don't necessarily know about, but they really do affect their day-to-day lives far more than any of the other cabinet positions, especially when it comes to your bank account and your wallet.
Great. So what makes you unique for this position?
Well, I think it's part of what I mentioned before, having a very strong background in numbers, and not just an engineer, but like three different kinds of engineering. I did financial analytics for a major company and was able to help to find ways to save money and more effectively use that money. But not only that, in Tallahassee, and again, there's no better predictor of how someone's going to perform in the future than what they've done in the past, right?
Right.
If you look, like I said, when you look at my bills, they were some of the most co-sponsored bills. I was able to work across the aisle. When people look at me, I'm a veteran, a small business owner. I get asked so many times, why are you not a Republican? Especially when I talk about some of these financial issues. When it comes down to it, I want to keep government and politics out of your money. I want to help lower your property insurance rates and lower your rent and help you keep more money. Florida, we've seen our property insurance premiums double in the past 3 years, and we're now triple the national average. We've been listed as the least affordable state in the entire country, and our property insurance market is the worst in the country, and property insurance has become the number one barrier to new homeownership in the state. We need to fix that, because when it comes down to it, you should be keeping your money, not the insurance companies, not having to fight for 3.5 years like we were talking about on that commercial break to get the proper settlement from your insurance company after your home was destroyed by Hurricane Michael, which we're about to see that again in Southwest Florida.
Right.
So having someone who's ready to take on these issues, which we haven't had because we've just been getting worse and worse and worse with our property insurance market. We've had 6 companies go insolvent this year alone. Over 500,000 Floridians have been dropped from their property insurance companies, myself included. And it's not getting any better. There's no end point in sight. And right now, we need somebody who's ready to tackle this problem. And it's not going to be a flick of the switch.
Right.
This is not an overnight fix. This is a 3, 4, 5 year project to fix this. But right now, we're on day 0. because we don't have anybody willing to tackle this problem. But the day that I'm sworn in as your next CFO will be day one of this project, and we're going to do what we can to save you money and make sure that you're able to keep as much of your money as you can.
And what kind of solutions do you already have in mind for correcting some of these problems with the insurance? And everybody pretty much knows, especially here in this area, because of Hurricane Michael, the problems with insurance. As a matter of fact, tomorrow we're actually bringing an insurance expert back on again to talk about the roofing insurance situation. So it's a big problem. But what kind of solutions do you have to bring to the table on that?
Well, you just mentioned roofing.
Mm-hmm.
Right now in Florida, we have about 9% of the property insurance claims in the United States. But we're hovering around 76% of the property insurance lawsuits and property insurance related litigation. We are obviously an outlier.
Mm-hmm.
There are some major loopholes that people are able to drive a truck through in our insurance code and regulation. But right now, it's all legal that they're doing. Remember 12, 14 years ago, the sinkhole problem.
Yep.
And the legislature was able to get together and working with the CFO and the governor's office and the House and the Senate to come up with a solution to close that loophole and lower property insurance rates. We've seen this property insurance crisis coming down the pike for a good 5 years. And so far, nothing real has been done to close those loopholes. We just had a special legislative session to try to fix property insurance. People across the state, about 89%, were polled that, and 89%. So the two things they did not want was our rates to go up, our coverage to go down. But what came out of the special session? Our rates went up, our coverage went down, and the state gave a $2 billion corporate bailout to property insurance companies, paid for by all of your listeners.
Right.
We need to get to the root of the problem. When I was in the military, we call it RCA, root cause analysis. You ask why 4, 5, 6 times, so you can't ask why anymore. And once you get to that point, that's the problems you have to fix.
Mm-hmm.
Right now in Florida, besides roofs, besides property insurance companies leaving the state because, and a lot of the reasons listed are poor legislative and regulatory environment to operate. We need to look at both sides of the equation. Instead of just what can we do to protect insurance companies to keep them here, we need to look at what's best for consumers as well, because they're the ones who are, everyone calls them like insured or policyholders. They're victims. You said you're in the demolition gig outside of radio.
Yep.
And when you talk to people whose homes have been destroyed and they have to get all that cleared away, they're victims. And we have to have people there to protect them as well. There is a balance. Other states have figured out how to do this. We can model our industry, our regulation, our legislation after literally the 49 other states that are getting this right. But we just have to have somebody who's ready to take on this problem.
Okay. Sounds good. We're chatting with Adam Hattersley, who is running for the CFO position, which, of course, that election is 4 weeks from today.
Yep. And as a reminder, today's the last day to register to vote.
Yes, absolutely.
So get out there and vote.
And our early voting starts in less than 2 weeks.
Less than 2 weeks.
So it is really about time. And, here's the thing is that you are a Democrat. And again, I brought that up and not to make it a bad thing, because it really kind of sounds like you're the Democrat that I keep saying we're missing, that we used to have those Democrats.
I got that a lot in Tallahassee.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask this question just because of the fact that, you are a Democrat, and I know that there's going to be some Republicans that are going to ask this question and wonder it, but what is your thoughts on the woke politics that we have seen so much really from the left? I mean, how do you feel about that aspect? Because I'm gathering that you're not on that progressive liberal side of the Democrat side.
When you see stuff coming out of Washington, there's like 4 or 5 crazies on the left. There's 4 or 5 crazies on the right. And everybody knows who those crazies are. But everybody forgets about the 425 other members of Congress that are more moderate, that are working toward the people, because it doesn't get headlines. It's not as sexy for news stories and to talk about.
Yeah.
But again, if you look at how I voted and the bills that I sponsored and co-sponsored in Tallahassee, and especially when it comes to fiscal policy in this role, I'm moderate and slightly to the right when it comes to fiscal policy. I want you to keep your money. And really a lot of these issues I'm talking about, it's not a Republican issue. It's not a Democratic issue. It's not an independent issue. It's an every Floridian issue. It's a your family. It's a your future issue. It's your wallet issue. And I always say for this race, I don't care about all the others. Well, I do, but I don't care about all the others.
Right.
for this particular race, don't vote with your party. Don't vote with your heart. It's time to vote with your wallet. Everybody has seen their insurance bill or their rent going up, going up, going up with no end in sight. It's time to vote with your wallet on this race.
Mm-hmm. So you're definitely not for bringing in all the woke politics on it. Then it
has nothing to do with keeping your money in your pocket.
There we go. That's what we like to hear. How can people get in touch with you if they want to learn more about you or contribute to you or even meet you? Because you in town for the day or what are you? What are you doing today?
Here in Bay County. Then we're going to some surrounding counties, Franklin County. Mm-hmm. We're having some meet and greets. I'm going to be in Pensacola this evening. I have an event in Tallahassee tomorrow. But yeah, we're at Adam4 FOR Florida, adam4florida.com. Adam@adam4florida.com is my email. It comes right to my phone. We're pretty easy to find. It's Hattersley FOR FL, Hattersley for Florida on all the socials.
Right.
I do post some cute pictures of my 2 Australian Shepherd dogs.
I did notice those.
Thank you. Yeah, one's a puppy. He just turned one the other day.
Just 1 year.
Happy
birthday,
I saw that.
Ike.
Yeah, their names are Ike and Patton, like the generals.
There you go.
But yeah, so that's always easy way to find us to get a hold of us or to follow us along or, like you said, contribute to our campaign.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, Adam Hattersley, thank you so much for coming in and talking about your campaign. Obviously, you hit on some of the biggest. The insurance is a big thing here in Florida. We've experienced it here with Hurricane Michael. We've got many of our fellow Floridians that are about to go through that as well. And I wish you luck, and again, props to you for coming into Jimmy territory and talking with the people. And I wish some of your fellow Democrats would follow that lead and at the very least come in and listen and talk. And
just like my time in the military, we're trying to lead from the front here.
There you go. So I give you some mad respect for that. But again, thank you so much for coming in and good luck. And if you want more information on him, I'll also throw his info on our Facebook page. So you can get that as well. Adam, thanks for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate
Absolutely. Hang on. We got to take a quick break. We will be right back. This is The Brian Rush Show, and you're listening to News Talk at 101. Good morning.